What is up, my fellow movie nerds? My name's Barry King, and I am that weird movie nerd. Sorry if you could hear my vacuum cleaner going out there. The wheel on it's really squeaking, and it's also very loud because it's vacuuming. Brothers, 2009, directed by Jim Sheridan, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Natalie Portman, Tobey Maguire. What a great little cast they've got on this. All three of them amazing actors, and they put their all into this film, and I loved it. First things out of the gate, we got to talk about my boy Tobey. Now, Tobey man. Tobey! I love Tobey Maguire. I love the... You can hear the vacuum cleaner. I love Tobey Maguire. I love the Spider-Man films. But I think that's the problem. After watching Spider-Man and not really seeing him in anything else, that's all I can see him as is Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and I hate it. I couldn't take him seriously in this movie as much as I wanted to. For some reason, he's that nerd stereotype, and I can't dig that out of my head. He's a soldier in this movie, except whenever he's being really serious, I can't help but think Spider-Man. Like when he's with his little girls at the start of the movie and he's talking all cute to them, I just couldn't. Like that vacuum cleaner. Why did you do that right outside the door? No, you're not going into the office. Get back here. There, he's on the other side of the house, so we won't be able to hear him as well. But when he was with the daughters, it was really cringe. I couldn't find that connection between them. I can't see him as that father figure. He's too cringe. I'm not sure if it's just the Spider-Man movies that have been like, he's been so cringe in that I'm like, oh, he's only a cringe character now. But I do gotta say, he is amazing in this movie, especially towards the end. You can see how deranged he looks and how inhuman he looks towards the end after he's gone through all this shit in Afghanistan. And he definitely nailed that scene in the kitchen where he went psycho, like batshit crazy, just smashing everything. But again, I couldn't take him seriously, not because of the acting was amazing, but because of his voice. The voice cracks. It's something that I would struggle with if I went into acting, was if I went really loud. Oh, it sounds so weird because my voice goes so high. See what I mean? That's gonna blow the audio out. I think it's his voice that I can't take seriously. But other than that, he was perfect in this movie. He was perfect as the captain in Afghanistan, being all serious. I could kind of take him serious there. It was just all around good. But I want to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's my boy Jake Gyllenhaal. Holy crap. The earliest I've seen from him is Donnie Darko. I didn't like that movie, despite what everyone says and how good it is. I didn't like his performance in that. It wasn't the Jake Gyllenhaal that I knew, and this was the Jake Gyllenhaal that I knew. He took the screen, he was the best he can be. He's always so invested in his characters, and I love that. And I also loved his character Tommy, because although Tommy came out of prison and you could see him a bit off the rails every now and again, he was still a decent guy. His father had such a gripe with him, but he was so forgiving towards him, and I loved that. I loved how he wasn't this psycho brother that we couldn't love. Like, he's done some bad things, but that's the beautiful thing is, although people do bad things, we can forgive them and they can redeem themselves. And that's exactly what he did in this movie. Now, Natalie Portman, we don't gotta talk about Natalie Portman. She's perfect in every role she plays. She's Natalie Portman. You don't gotta say anything about her because she's just a perfect actress. Whatever role you put her in, she's gonna nail, no matter what. Same with Jake Gyllenhaal. But Natalie Portman, there's nothing to say about her. She's perfect. While we're talking about actors and actresses, I want to talk about the little girls. Now, they did an amazing job acting. They were definitely great jobs acting, but they were fed some lines that little girls don't say. Now, the very first time we saw Isabella, she was upset at Sam, and although she acted that very well, she was fed some lines and I'm like, ooh, that's not what a little girl says. That's something that somebody else says, but you've given it to a little girl who's acted it as well as she can, but it's something too smart for a little girl to say. And that happened throughout the movie, but it wasn't so bad that I was like, oh, these fucking little girls, give them proper lines. They were definitely little girls. I could feel that they gave that good performance, but there was just some times that they were fed lines that didn't feel proper. Quickly want to actually dabble on the CGI while Sam was in Afghanistan in the helicopter. The CGI on the helicopters looked very iffy, And I don't blame that because it's not a CGI heavy movie and they probably didn't have that big of a budget so they couldn't put it all into that. But like still it was a couple of helicopter shots. Like, are they so hard to pull off? I also want to quickly dabble on this thing that I really liked and that I love in movies is that they give these little hidden details that if you miss, it doesn't throw the whole story off, but it's just cool to say, whoa, this thing happened here, so that's that person, and then that person's related to that person. And they did that beautifully here. It's show, don't tell. And I absolutely love it when filmmakers do this. For example, we didn't know that Sam and Thomas's mum had actually passed away. We didn't know until like maybe, I don't know, 1/3, halfway through the movie that the mother with Thomas and Sam's father isn't actually their mother, it's their stepmother. We weren't told that straight away, right off the bat. There wasn't somebody who said, oh, hey, stepmom, and then that's how we knew. And there was another moment in the movie that I noticed where Joe Willis, he was the guy to fall out of the helicopter into the water, I think. But then also, at the start of the movie, we were introduced to Joe Miller's son and his wife, just briefly. Natalie Portman's character said, oh hey, it's Joe Jr. And then when Joe was in Afghanistan with Sam, he explained that he's got this wife and his kid, and then we can connect that. It wasn't fed to us, it was showed to us, and then it was told to us. I love it when movies do that. And they did it beautifully in this movie for a lot of things. A big gripe I had with this movie, although it's an hour and 50 minutes long, is that the scenes don't feel lived in. Now, I don't mean all the scenes. There was a scene where Tommy and Grace were in front of the fireplace and that's where they had their kiss. That was kind of lived in. But there are scenes that move on too quickly. You feel like they should give more, or there should be more room in between lines, or more time for the characters to give some thought to what they're about to say or what they've just heard. And there was a few of them. And I heard some reviews say that this movie was very slow, but it was, but in the sense that it moves on slowly, but in given scenes it moves fast. It has a lot of scenes, but they're not long scenes, if you get what I mean. And while we're delving into the story aspect of this thing, the second half of this movie was slow, very weirdly paced. The first half of the movie was great, but the second half of the movie, it kind of halted. It was like, oh, Sam's back, but not much happened, except Sam kind of went off the rails. I guess it was him kind of deteriorating, and deterioration takes a long time. I guess I can excuse it for that, but it did feel a little slow. And the ending was very abrupt. It just cut off there. It gave us an ending, but it felt like there was a lot more that needed to be expanded on. But other than all that, that's all kind of just nitpicking. I did really like this movie. It was a good experience. It was a good look into how the personality of a soldier coming back from war, how that can deteriorate a family, and how it affects a person and how different they can be. And I like this one line that Sam said, being back in Afghanistan felt like it was being back at home. It wasn't that line exactly, but it's something along those lines. And that's exactly right, is that soldiers feel the most home when they're away from home, I feel like. I'm saying that not from experience, because I don't know, but it's a good illustration that war changes a person, killing people changes a person. And that's actually what Tommy's girlfriend says. You don't ever get trained to kill somebody and deal with that guilt. You can't train for that. But overall, a great movie, a great war movie, a great movie about PTSD. It didn't focus too much on the war aspect. It did focus a lot on the family aspect, and that's what you want. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5 stars out of 5. I would give it a 4, but there was just something about this movie, although I fucking loved it, there was like a sheet over it that stopped it from being anything too amazing. There was a sheet over it that it couldn't punch through to be like, whoa, Oscar! Or something like that. Overall, a great movie experience, and I would recommend everyone to watch it. If I said anything wrong, or I said anything right, or you just want to blurt out your feelings about this movie in the comments, then do it. Comment it down there. I love talking about movies. I'll have a little banter with you. I love learning about movies, even if I'm wrong. If you have a movie you want me to review, or you think I'd like, comment it below also, and I'll add it to my watch list of thousands of movies that I've got to get to, and I'll review it somewhere in the distant future, maybe a decade from now. But thank you all for watching. I hope you liked the review, and I will see you in the next video.